Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by Demico, Chrysler, Dodge Jeep, and Ram, serving the Finger Lakes since 1963. And DIRTtrackdigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquart.
Good afternoon, good evening, good day. It is episode number 131, if you can believe that, of the 31st Lap. Tony Stewart will not be charged. That's the news that is prevailing. We'll have some commentary on that coming up in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick look at the weekend racing in the next couple of minutes, and then at 7:20 we're going to be talking with Jeff Hachmann, and then we'll bridge into some of the Tony Stewart stuff. Boy, it's got a little crazy with those guys. There's a lot of passion flowing on both sides of the coin for Tony Stewart and for Kevin Ward Jr. And that's all stuff that we're going to get into here on a Wednesday edition of the 31st Lap. John is out hanging banners for Super Dirt Week as we get ready for that coming up in October. So he's not able to join us here in studio. Also, Mike Mallett, as he alluded to last week, he's off chasing races all over the place, and he's not going to be around tonight. And then tomorrow night I've got open house for Alan, our kindergartner. He's going to be celebrating his open house festivities tomorrow, so we weren't able to make it all come together for Thursday night, but coming to you here a day early. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be catching up with Jeff Hachmann here in just a few minutes. Some action over there at the Fonda Speedway. Brett Hearn coming away with a Super DIRTcar Series win, an important win for Brett Hearn, leaping to the points lead now with the Super DIRTcar Series. Broken axle, sideline Matt Shepard, about 7-10 laps in, somewhere around there. He's relegated to 30th spot. And Brett Hearn looked real strong. 8-time series champion, picked up the win, and he's the new points leader. The move that ended up winning the race for him, he took the lead on lap 4, and he never looked back. Billy Decker, second best car through the course of the night. He was able to hang on for a good finish, and he now moved into second overall in the point standing. He's 7 points behind Brett Hearn, and Matt Shepard, he is third in line. 46 points behind. They are now looking ahead to the next time they're in competition. It is going to be at Super Dirt Week at the New York State Fairgrounds coming up on October the 13th. More information, superdirtcarseries.com. The schedule beyond that includes the Fall Nationals on October 18th in Brockville. And then from there they go to Orange County Fair Speedway for Eastern States Weekend. And we all know Mike loves Eastern States Weekend. From there they've got two races at the dirt track at Charlotte, Concord, North Carolina. Qualifying night is the 6th of November, and then racing first night, November 7th, and then the season finale on November the 8th. Also, over there at the Fonda Speedway, Steve Poirier officially wrapped up his 5th ESS title, putting an exclamation point on it with his 6th win of the year, starting on the pole of the 25-lap A-Main. He was on rails. Stu Friesen tried to run him down. They were weaving in and out of slower traffic. Stu Friesen ended up having the wing adjuster snap on his, so he was fighting a nasty push condition. Ended up bringing that car home second. Pretty respectable showing in there. Poirier has just been so good this year, and at the conclusion, it was his 46th win with the Empire Super Sprints. Tommy Wickham, he was an early contender there and ended up crossing the line in 4th. But at the end of the night, he was booted out of the 4th spot because he never went to the scales. It moved Larry White up to 4th, and Danny Varon took over the 5th spot in the ESS show over there at Fonda. Dundee, the Seneca Lake Shootout at Yates County Speedway. Jimmy Phelps came away with a win in that, paid him $4,000. Dale Ruggles continued his very successful 305 season with a win in that portion of the car. Jeremy Petrobowski in the street stock feature, he came to victory lane, and then James Creedler won the 4-cylinder event. Alan Johnson looked real good early. Brady Fultz was a contender early in the going. Matt Shepard was up there as well. Steve Payne, Billy Van Pelt. It was a super feature. All-star cast running up there in the top 6 spots, and 17 to go. Jimmy Phelps, it was a 50-lap feature. Jimmy Phelps took 3rd and ended up catching Alan Johnson with about 13 laps to go and took over the top spot on lap 39, pulled away. Matt Shepard came into second, held on to that spot. Alan Johnson settled for third, Billy Van Pelt, and then Vic Coffey filled out the top 5. The win gives Jimmy Phelps a guaranteed starting spot in the Southern Tier 100 at 5 Mile Point November 1st. 2 races left at Yates County Speedway. The Dutch Hogue National Open scheduled for October 24th and 25th. Eric Rudolph picked up his first career win at Brighton Speedway with a 358 Modified Series over the weekend. He's now leading by 61 points over Kerry Terrence. 4 races left, including the 358 Modified Championship at Super Dirt Week. So congratulations to Eric. Looks like he's in cruise control at this point, but you can never say never with the way that those seasons shake out. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about these promotional tickets that Napa's offering when we get Jeff on the line. So give me just 1 second. Let me ring Jeff up, and we'll chat with Jeff Hachmann here momentarily. This is one of the charms of doing the show solo, is you get to watch me dial a telephone. I'm sure that's riveting stuff, and it's one of the charms of doing this on your own. You get to watch me talk on the phone before we put everybody into the board. We've got Jeff Hachmann with us. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing okay. How's all the planning going? I talked to John earlier in the day, and he said he's been running all over Syracuse, hanging up banners for Super Dirt Week.
Well, that's good. And I guess he doesn't have to text me tonight. I know what he's doing.
That's right. Yeah, he said he was out pretty late last night, and there was still several stops that he wanted to make here today. So you've got him running all over the place, and everybody's talking about Super Dirt Week.
Well, we're a big believer, and I guess I'm a big believer, and I got the rest of the group sold on grassroots marketing is still key. Touching the fans one-on-one at locations that they feel comfortable. And you know what? If you're in love with Burn Dairy and their coffee, and you see a banner up, you automatically think Burn Dairy's in love with Super Dirt Week. You got a better chance of somebody coming that maybe wasn't planning on it.
That's a great way of looking at it. I mean, if you make those connections and those fans start connecting those dots, it's going to lead to bodies in the seats.
Well, it's kind of, it's that whole philosophy. There's a reason why you get involved with the media and you do events like we had yesterday, because you know what? If there's a lot of people out there that turn on 95X and love Big Smoothie, and if Big Smoothie loves Super Dirt Week, then why wouldn't they?
That's right. That's right. How did everything go at pole position? You had that media race again this year.
It was awesome. We had, I believe, 21 media members, radio, online, print, TV, and we had 6 drivers. And you know what? Every time I give the list, I always forget somebody. But Larry White, Billy Dunn, Gary Tompkins, Brett Hearn, Matt Shepard, and see, I told you I'd forget one.
Oh, no.
And Peter Britton. Sorry about that.
And
so it's, we had a great turnout. We had dinosaur barbecue for everybody afterwards. We had some sponsors there. We had fans there getting autographs and watching. And then the greatest thing of all was watching all the TV outlets last night showing a minimum of a 60-second piece, which everybody knows how much time you get on sports.
That's right.
You get on sports, so to have a 1-minute piece on Super Dirt Week was pretty impressive.
And this is you've been doing this the last couple of years now. I mean, the feedback from this, is there any is there a way that you can measure your contacts and find out how many people that you're reaching, or is it just basically word of mouth? And if you know that they saw the piece and then people ended up coming to Super Dirt Week.
Well, I mean, you could. We do have the option when you call in to buy tickets. We'll ask them how they heard about it.
Right.
But really, think about how many. I mean, not nowadays, and depending on the generation, but a lot of people are watching the news, and if they watch the news, they catch that little piece on sports, and so measurable. I can't say that we can. I can say that the Wayne Mahar Weather Deck Party promotion that we do, where you which is going on. If you watch 3, 5, or 6 for the next 2 weeks, there's a 40-second piece on the 5, 5:30, and the 11 o'clock news that it says enter to win 25 winners and a guest will have an opportunity to be at Wayne's weather deck party.
Right.
Wayne's weather deck party, and have an opportunity to win weekend tickets. That's the party's on Friday night, and then six of those fans will win weekend tickets from that event, and 6 of them will get pace car rides. And last year we had over 2,500 people enter for that.
That's excellent. How could you?
So it's always, sometimes it's tough to measure, but I know I've lived in Syracuse a long time, and what's everybody watch this time of the year? The weather.
That's right. There's no question about that. And we finally we got a little bit of a decent snap here. I'm a little disappointed that Super Dirt Week isn't coming up this weekend.
Well, I hope Mother Nature isn't wasting all her power on this week. Let's save it for a couple weeks from now.
I was just talking with a race fan here not that long ago, and we were reflecting back on. I mean, it's got to be probably 10 years ago now. That it was snowing in October, and when it was rescheduled for November, it was in the 70s, and everybody was in their shorts in the pit area.
Yep. Well, I remember being in a snowsuit with a hat and gloves on, and I remember being in shorts.
Yeah.
It's crazy weather. We just I always say that you're going to have a good crowd at Super Dirt Week, but you're 5 great days of weather from having a great crowd.
Right. Now, in terms of getting all the media up there, how much does that help? Not so much in terms of getting bodies to the fairgrounds, but at the same time, instead, you're getting more people that maybe wouldn't invest the time to cover the biggest party in dirt racing.
Well, I mean,
that turns them on to it.
That's the thing. I mean, it's not just the fans; it's getting the media engaged. Where, hey, we're right around the corner, 2 weeks out, so now they're going to start to prepare for the event also.
Right.
And so the coverage is great, but obviously you need to get the media engaged too, and they're asking questions or turning in their requests. They're just starting to. It's kind of a reminder that there's a really big event coming up, and you guys got to get ready.
Right.
So so it'll be. It's a nice event. It's something everybody gets excited for, and I think the reason we get such great response from the media coming out to this event is the fact that I don't and I won't put on an event that's like, hey, I got this guy and this guy and this race car. Why don't you come interview him?
Right.
I actually do something that the drivers actually enjoy supporting it,
Right.
and then the media thinks it's pretty cool. Because, again, it goes back to that whole thing. If they think it's cool, then everybody else thinks it's cool.
I agree with that. Tell us a little bit more about this 99-cent pit pass that people can get at Napa. At Central New York area and North Central PA Napa stores, you can get a 99-cent pit pass upgrade.
Yep. If you have a Sunday ticket, or if you don't have a Sunday ticket, you should get one. And you'll go in and go into a local Napa store, and you can buy a 99-cent pit upgrade, pit pass upgrade for 99 cents right there, and you bring that voucher to the window when you get there on Sunday, and you'll get yourself a pit pass.
That's not so bad. Get right up close and personal with everything going on race day.
Nope, and they also have a limited edition.
They got the hats.
Limited edition Napa Super Dirt Week hats.
Yep.
So, it's a pretty cool deal. Pretty cool deal, and I know it's going well. And we had the Napa folks out there yesterday, and they're extremely excited with everything that we do up here to get them exposure and be a part of it. So actually, the first thing the Napa guy said to me yesterday when he walked in, he's like, "Holy cow! Next year, can we do a in-store promotion that the 2 fans will win the opportunity to race in this?" So that's always good when you're keeping the sponsor happy. It always keeps the event going.
Hey, you can't go wrong there. In terms of the model that you guys have for Super Dirt Week now, you've been following a similar model here the last couple of years, and it's clearly working. It's getting more and more exposure in the Central New York area, and it's spreading out wider and wider. Your fan turnout has been outstanding. You're slowly gaining more and more cars here year after year. Is it getting any easier?
Sorry about that.
It's fine. Is it getting any easier for you to put this show together?
Operationally, God, where's some wood? Let me hit my head. Operationally, it seems a little bit easier because we've had a similar team on board. It's not just the fact that we've kept the same model. We have the same team on board that's supporting it, other than Balmus. But we got the same team on board. And a lot of, when you have the same partners and you have good relationships with the same vendors and the same media, everything becomes a little bit easier.
Right.
But, you want to get to that point because you're always going to get that curveball. And you know what? Last year things were a little bit easier too. And if everybody or some people may remember, we had a windstorm on Sunday night that totally tore down the whole Gate 6 facade and entrance and building that we had built that prior weekend.
Right.
And we had to rebuild it. But if we weren't ahead of the game and we weren't operationally sound, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that, and that doesn't look good on anybody. So easier, yeah, in some aspects, but you're always trying to take it a little bit farther. You know what? This USAC deal, some like it, some don't. But that's something new. That's a new group of people. There's going to be new curveballs. There's going to be new pit issues that we have to worry about. Where are we going to pit these guys? What's the traffic flow going to be? We have some new vendors in here. So there's always something that keeps you going. You can have the best template in the world, but, some of those templates change.
Have you seen any curveballs yet?
Curveballs. Well, yeah, I have.
Yeah.
One would be the USAC pits.
Right.
The other one, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay.
Infield restaurant is now a laundromat.
Right.
And the current catering contract with Ovations at the New York State Fairgrounds, they've chosen not to be a part of it. So at this point, it's on me to make sure that we got food and beverage in the infield.
Oh, boy. I would say that's a curveball.
Yeah. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I know I'll get it done. Nobody has to worry. We'll have food and beverage in the infield. Well,
I mean, that's a fairly major deal. I mean, that was sort of a staple, and having that now turned into a laundromat and being responsible now to find all that stuff, does that add to your plate now that you have to get okayed to host the food deal on your own? I believe they sold beer out of that infield pavilion as well. Do you guys have to go through and get your own liquor license and stuff like that, or is this stuff that you're just going to meet with somebody, turn the keys over to them, and say you guys take care of it?
No, I'm meeting with American Vending Company tomorrow. American Vending that does all the under the grandstand food and beverage. And I will be also meeting with Troy Waffner, who is the current director of the New York State Fairgrounds. So it's going to be up to us to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to make it happen.
Wow, that's a challenge. So you got plenty of time though, still.
Okay. 2 weeks is not. We'll have it done. I got vendors chomping at the bit that want to get in here, and I know that American Vending wants to put a stand in there. The food thing is not going to be an issue, and the beer will be, and it'll be my job to figure it out.
I mean, other than it sounds like otherwise, though, everything has been going pretty smooth. Just in watching the flow of everything, everything seems to be moving ahead, and it's interesting the point that you made about having the team together. DIRTcar has not seen for a while there that they were changing faces fairly frequently. At this point, we've had the same team together now for somewhat of an extended period, and you've also got the same sponsors on board. So I can definitely see where that helps smooth things out, because it's not there's none of that getting to know you awkwardness. Pretty much what everybody's going to do. They understand their expectations, and that definitely makes things run smoother. You're not having to micromanage things. You can turn over a little bit more control.
That's right, and that's exciting. And it's not only is it the same team, it's a good team. So everybody kind of knows their role and knows what we have to do. But in the same regard, the tough part for me is trusting that those roles are being taken care of, and trusting that the responsibility that you put on somebody is being done and being done in a timely fashion. Because when it turns into babysitting, that becomes an issue and another curveball.
Are you a micromanager? Is that your personality?
I wouldn't say micromanager, but I would say I know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I got my hand on pretty much everything, but I was kind of brought up with if you want to get something done right, you do it yourself, and that's not always the case, and that's not how you get a big event done. But I do like to know what's going on and make sure it's going on, and I think John can attest to that. We're worried about a concession issue, but beyond that, I'm also worried about banners getting up in town. So, it's always I guess in this position you have to be that way. You have to know what's going on. You have to know. You have to be on top of it in some capacity.
Right.
Because when it comes down to it, I mean, the philosophy of the people I report to is if something goes wrong at Super Dirt Week, it's not that person's fault. It's yours. It's
right.
your event.
Yeah, that's...
So, I'm sure it applies anywhere, whether it be, if something goes wrong with Dirt Track Digest, whose problem is it?
Oh, that'll be Mike's.
Yeah. I mean, it's his ultimately. If he chooses to take his hands off something because he thinks it's going to be done and it doesn't get done, it's ultimately still Mike Mallett. Or,
right.
And I'm just using that as an example. I don't even know if Mike's on the show.
He's not. No, I'm flying solo tonight.
Okay.
Flying solo. I think that was a great example.
What's that?
I said I think that was a great example.
Yeah. So, anyways. But it's all good. We're excited. We're looking forward to it, and it's right around the corner. So
that it is. There's no question about that. It is.
Yep.
It's coming up in a hurry. I mean, you're not too many calendar squares away from that. What's on deck this week? I mean, other than getting the banners out and straightening out your concession,
buttoning everything up operationally, all the staffing schedules. Obviously the hot item is the concessions in the infield right now.
Any thoughts on the race this weekend in Fonda?
Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so
No.
I can't say anything other than it was pretty exciting to see the points get shaken up. And
boy, it did, didn't it?
Looks like the modifieds are going to prove themselves to be a great show at not only Super Dirt Week but World Finals coming up in Concord. Everybody, the Outlaws are the Outlaws, and they're great, but the Modifieds always put on a great show.
Yeah, Syracuse and Eastern States both proved to be equalizers, and then it all wraps up on the big stage in Charlotte.
Yep. So.
And before I let you go, give you the option if you had any thoughts on it, and if you don't, that's fair enough too. Any thoughts on the stuff that's shaking out here in the Ontario County Courts with the grand jury and Tony Stewart?
I've been kind of trying to stay away from that. It's an unfortunate situation. My thoughts and prayers are with the family and with Tony also. And it's just an unfortunate situation for all. And I'm sure everybody's doing their due diligence to get to the bottom line. The unfortunate thing is there's a tragedy involved here, so it's hurtful for all of us, even the promoters.
Absolutely, it's not an easy thing to go through, and Mike and I have talked about this both on and off the air about the challenges that faced everybody that was tied up in the midst of everything that went on, and now it really didn't matter what results came out of the deliberations. There was going to be plenty of outrage either way, and
yep,
we're at that crossroad now.
Yes, we are.
But Jeff, man, I appreciate
you having me on. I look forward to doing it. I'll do it every Thursday if you want me.
Yeah, we do for sure.
Worth it, and give me a call and we'll go from there.
All right, we'll plan on next Thursday. We'll call you on the.
All right, sounds great.
We'll call you on your house line.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you next time.
Bye now.
There goes Jeff Hachmann, Director of Marketing, Promotions, and Sales with DIRTcar Northeast. Getting ready 2 weeks away from Super Dirt Week, and talked a little bit about one of the topics that we unfortunately we have to approach this some way. I don't think we can get away with not acknowledging it in some way. The grand jury has turned back their decision. They will not be levying any charges against Tony Stewart in the wake of the accident over there at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Additional findings, they deliberated for 2 days, the better part of 2 days, looking at a lot of evidence, looked at a couple videos, and they ultimately came back with the decision that there wasn't enough evidence to warrant criminal charges. Now that doesn't leave anything. That doesn't take anything off the table for civil suits from the Kevin Ward Jr. family going after Tony Stewart Racing, what have you. Outrage, I think, is what we expected. There was a lot of outrage when Dominic Tantillo, the Ontario County District Attorney, Michael Tantillo, I misspoke there, I'm sorry, Ontario County District Attorney Michael Tantillo held this decision sort of in his hands. He could make the decision either to press charges or to drop charges, and he kind of looked at what he had in front of him and said, I'd like to have another set of eyes on this, so to say. We'll take a quick sidebar on this, and this is an election situation that he could be looking at. If he makes the wrong decision, does he upset a bunch of potential constituents? If he goes the other way, he upsets another group of potential constituents. Is that why he decided to send it to grand jury? You guys have your opinions on that. That's been pretty sufficiently voiced on social media. I would like to think that he was doing what he did because it was a challenging decision, and he wanted, as I alluded to, get another set of eyes on it, and not because of his elected office position. He knew that it was not going to be an easy decision. The grand jury turned around. They looked at what they had. In New York, it takes 12 out of the 23 votes on the grand jury to get to bring to the point where you're going to formally charge somebody with criminal charges. And they didn't get what they needed to bring those criminal charges, and the voices spoke, and that's somewhat the end of the story in terms of the criminal side of this. Did the cars touch? Was it intentional? Did he rev the engine? Did he try to strike him? The videos, it was reported that there wasn't anything out of the ordinary in the actions of Tony Stewart's car as he approached Kevin Ward. And again, that's a polarizing statement. The video in itself is also polarizing. Everybody has their take on it. They are either vehemently for or against. There really isn't a whole lot of middle ground on this. And we, again, are in a situation where we're looking at what happened. And the grand jury making their decision to not charge Tony Stewart in any way, shape, or form criminally for what happened. And let the fallout begin. We've got ESPN covering it. We've got CBS covering it. We've got Yahoo covering it. We've got, just type it into Google and you'll get hit after hit. Washington Post, New York Times, you name it. Everybody's on this, watching the same thing. Formal statement was issued. Everybody grabbed hold of that quickly as well. Tantillo said that the videos didn't demonstrate any aberrational, was the word he used, driving from Tony Stewart until the point of impact with Kevin Ward. What does that mean? That right there, that's something that makes you wonder. There's something else that makes you wonder. They did some toxicology reports. At the time of operation, Kevin Ward was under the influence of marijuana. Michael Tantillo said levels of marijuana were enough to impair judgment, he added. Changes things a lot. I ask a question, though, with that, because I know some people who have been on marijuana, as it were. Pretty relaxed people. They don't get wound up. I don't know what to make of that coming from the toxicology report. Kevin Ward was obviously hot when he got out of that car. That was evidence in the video. Can't argue with toxicology, though. So, again, it's one of those crazy, these crazy things that this continues to swirl around. Would this be put to grand jury if we were saying Jason Barney hit Kevin Ward? Kevin Ward Jr. was killed after being struck by Brian Howland. Would this even be brought to grand jury? You know, we continue to ask all these questions. But yet, because it's Tony Stewart, Michael Tantillo, I keep making that mistake, and I do apologize. Michael Tantillo, Ontario County District Attorney, looks at this and says, do we press charges? Because the inference is going to be that we're pressing charges only because it's Tony Stewart. Do we not press charges? And the reaction is going to be from so many that you're only not pressing charges because it's Tony Stewart. He sends it to grand jury. The grand jury comes back with a decision that sets in motion fervor, anger, draws a lot of passion, outrage when they say, no, we're not going to charge Tony Stewart. We're not charging Tony Stewart because there's not sufficient evidence. That part gets forgotten. The period comes at Stewart. We are not going to charge Tony Stewart. And everyone says it's because he's Tony Stewart. Likewise, had that grand jury come back and said that we are going to charge Tony Stewart, additional passion would have overflowed, and we would be in a similar situation with just as much tirade and just as many pitchforks and flaming torches. It's interesting thing to be living through in the racing world. This continues to be a point of stress for many of the folks that are involved with this and within the racing community. I know this has hit Mike pretty hard, and this is something that even the Kevin Ward Jr. family said that this is not at rest, and they're doing that in respect of Kevin. Did they know? Did they care that their son was getting into a race car? Allegedly, toxicology report came back, said his judgment is impaired. We've all heard rumors about other drivers that are out there that, at multiple level, mind you, be it from NASCAR, be it from NHRA, be it to dirt modified or otherwise, that get some sort of substance courage, as it were, that helps them make decisions. Does it make things slow down? Does it make them be on their game? Does it help them focus? Who knows? But that topic is not new, just like the whole topic of racing etiquette. Challenge that guy. He did you wrong. You exit the car. That's what you do. But now that whole dynamic has changed because we've got this new element to it. And we've still got that outrage, the passion that is fueling so much more of this. And it's a very, very difficult thing. And this is almost as if this is mainstream media's way of saying, goodbye, it's been fun. This is the finality to it. There's no charges. This is unfortunately, at least on the local level, I'm confident this is not the end of it. I don't think that this is going to just go away. This is not the last that we've heard about any of this stuff. And there's a lot of emotion tied to it. There's going to continue to be a lot of emotion tied to it. I mean, it's been I think it was August 9th, so we're 7 weeks removed. Still pretty raw. And this is going to rekindle a lot of that pain. There's going to be a lot of reaction to it, and it's already begun. It took 2 days for these folks to ultimately make their final decision that they were not going to charge anybody. There was a preliminary investigation by the Ontario County Sheriff's Department, and when that stuff was brought to Tantillo, he decided then to bring it to grand jury. Everything wrapped up this week, and then the grand jury, the 23-member panel, was asked to deliberate on this topic, and they needed They needed 12 votes. They didn't get it. Tony Stewart, he released a statement. But first, a little bit from the statement from him. It's been tough. Been the toughest and most emotional experience in my life, he said. Will stay with me forever. Respects everything. I respect everything the DA and Sheriff's Office did to thoroughly investigate this tragic accident. While the process was long and emotionally difficult, it allowed for all the facts of the accident to be identified and known. While much of the attention has been on me, it's important to remember a young man lost his life. Kevin Ward Jr.'s family and friends will always be in my thoughts. I don't doubt that at all. How does this happen and you can just leave it behind? There's no way it just goes away. You can't just forget it. And that's why so many people around here are so emphatic and passionate about all of this. Not a simple thing to take. Not an easy thing to digest. For either side. This is a victory for a lot of Tony Stewart supporters. A lot of people saying, well done. Round of applause for the grand jury for bringing back the right decision. Just as many people saying round of applause, that would be saying round of applause. Well done, grand jury, if they brought back charges. Outrage. Either way. Unquestionably. Justifiably, I think, too. You look at this is not... I wouldn't want to have to make this decision. Mike and I talked about this when this was going to... when it was announced that it was going to grand jury. That there's been a lot of criticism that the decision to go with grand jury is essentially just a wiping of the hands and saying, I don't want to touch this. We need to go a different way. I think it's the only way to do it. It's the way to... one person makes that decision. There's a lot of criticism on that one person. Now you've got a panel of 23 people that have the opportunity to collectively make that decision. We're probably not ever going to know how many or if anybody voted to bring any charges. It's doubtful that we'll know that. It may come out, but I don't know if that's something that's going to be known soon or if at all. DIRTcar.com reported there was a little bit of a little bit more about it, talking about the videos, and the videos were similar, running through the programs, frame at a time, isolating pictures that helped them look at and have more information in terms of when they were given the opportunity to make their decision, render their findings. The panel of 23 people gave them the opportunity to make their decision maybe more educatedly. At the same time, that amount of information doesn't change anybody's interpretation of the result. There are still pockets. There are still factions, very spirited pockets and factions, emphatic, believing that the decision was wrong, that they should have pressed charges. And I don't know what to think at this point. I wish I had the opportunity to be on that panel, I suppose, just to know what was said in that room. Part of that is just interested because I've got a journalism background. Part of that is because I would love to know what was said in there. What did go on? What did they think of some of the new facts that came out? What did they think of the video? I don't think we're going to know. I think we're going to know, and maybe it's best that we don't know. Maybe it is time to let this go. Maybe it is time to say goodbye. Finally. But judging by some of the things that have been attributed to the Ward family and some of the mainstream media, I don't think that this is over. I don't believe it's over for a minute. But ultimately, the same thing that we've said time and time over is that there's nothing that's going to bring Kevin Ward Jr. back from this accident. It's a culmination of multiple bad decisions. One person, an individual told me once in our conversation about it, the point that fails to be acknowledged is that Kevin Ward and Tony Stewart were essentially the same person, separated by roughly 20 years. I'm interested to know if their opinion changes now. Does their opinion change given the facts that came out? Driving with impaired abilities. How much does that weigh into this? How much does that change this dynamic? We'll find out more as more of the new racing experts crop up and offer some of their opinion pieces. Some of the folks who have probably never been to a dirt race offer some of their opinions. Some of the folks who have never seen Kevin Ward race, other than that small clip that was all over mainstream media. As all the online social media experts begin to chime in with their opinions, their takes on stuff. It's going to be out there. Like I said, kind of mainstream media saying goodbye. But there's a whole lot more of this that's going to be coming by a lot of different outlets. And this is, I wish it was over, but it's pretty evident that it's not. And this is going to re-stir a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions. When Mike returns next week, I'm anticipating next week he'll be here. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this. I welcome any of your thoughts. By all means, drop them on the Facebook page. As I said before, I am very, very conflicted in taking either side on this. It is a very, very difficult thing for all of us associated with the 31st lap, and for this to come out the way that it is. Immediately, does it feel like it's right? Immediately, does it feel like it's wrong? It feels like both right away. As soon as you read that, it's enlightening and devastating simultaneously. Takes the wind right out of your sails automatically. At the same time, you wonder if that is the right decision. You know, and there's a little bit more that we learned on that. Marijuana, enough to impair judgment. How does that play in? Does that need to play in? Should you be in a car on a closed course that's not licensed in any way? How does that play in? Does that matter? Does it not matter? I'm afraid that's going to be something that is focused on. And they're going to, the media, as this develops in the next couple days, as we see more opinion pieces come out, reflection pieces come out about this situation, about the decision of the grand jury to not press charges against Tony Stewart. I am afraid that is going to be something that we hear a lot more about and a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about. At the end of the day, it's not going to bring anybody back. I think I'm going to finish up with this thought, and I've made this before. At the end of the day, there's only two people that know what happened in Turn 2 at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. One of them is never going to talk about it. And one of them was never given the chance. I think that's going to do it for this edition of the 31st lap. Somber way to end it. Obviously, we send our well wishes out to Kevin Ward Jr. and his family. This is and I know from Mike and what we've talked about, both on and off the air, and the whole ESS family, they were remarkably touched at all the tributes at the Cole Cup, at the Canadian Sprint Nationals, certainly Canandaigua Speedway with their banner, and namely the turnout that flooded Brewerton Speedway with orange the weekend following Kevin's passing when they did elect to race at Brewerton. That meant a lot to that group. The well wishes going to Kevin's family and going to ESS, that has also meant a lot and been helpful to them as they work through this situation. A lot of cool things have happened in the wake of that, with Matt Tanner driving the car that had the motor, with Kevin Ward's car being on the track at the Sprint Nationals. Good things and things that we can hang our hat on and reflect positively on in the midst of this tragedy. But I think that's going to do it for this edition. We gave you about 45 minutes. I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening as we talk a little bit about Super Dirt Week, as we talked about some of the racing from this weekend, and then obviously as we talk a little bit about the grand jury deciding not to charge Tony Stewart and Ontario County Courts. That, guys, thanks a lot. Episode number 131 in the books. We're going to be back here next week. Should be back on a regular scheduled night on next Thursday. Thanks again. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.